SCP-4075 Birds of a Feather. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-4075-1 has been purchased by the Foundation. The site has been secured to prevent civilian entry. Fences have been erected around the perimeter, with signs warning against entry on account of ongoing renovation. Attempts to track anomalous movement of SCP-4075 members are ongoing. If large-scale anomalous activity occurs, similar to that observed in Addendum 4075-4, cover stories of irregular colony movements are to be disseminated, with any contradictory media or online coverage suppressed. Description: SCP-4075 is a flamingo colony located in an abandoned office block designated SCP-4075-1 in Lima, Peru. All known species of flamingos are present in the colony in proportions roughly aligned to global species demographics. At any time, there are approximately 500 members of SCP-4075 present within SCP-4075-1. While situated within SCP-4075-1, members of SCP-4075 will gain anomalous properties, most notably the ability to communicate verbally with humans. Speech will be heard in the language the listener is most familiar with. SCP-4075 refers to itself as the Flamingo Bureau of Immigration. The purpose of SCP-4075 appears to be the processing of certain documents, designated SCP-4075-2, and the delivery of processing outcomes to the originating colony. SCP-4075 claims to fulfill a governance role over all flamingo colonies worldwide. SCP-4075-2 appear written in reader's native language, and images of documents will display no text. Attempts to remove SCP-4075-2 from SCP-4075-1 for further examination have been met with failure. Footnote 1. See Incident Report 4075-1. Members of SCP-4075 have the ability to instantaneously teleport to other, non-anomalous flamingo colonies situated around the world, and then back to SCP-4075-1. Members have been observed teleporting to other colonies for the purposes of sleep, sustenance, and mating. Travel between colonies and SCP-4075-1 also appears to serve the purpose of SCP-4075-2 collection. In the majority of instances of teleportation to SCP-4075-1, members will be carrying paper documents within their beaks. With the exception of teleportation, SCP-4075 members have not demonstrated their anomalous attributes outside of SCP-4075-1, and flamingos not part of the SCP-4075 colony have demonstrated no anomalous behavior. Footnote 2. See Incident Report 4075-1. Addendum 4075-1. Initial Exploration. Foundation agents Maretti and Peralta were dispatched to SCP-4075-1 after local reports of anomalous activity within SCP-4075. Agents entered the site through a reception area on the ground floor, where 6 instances of SCP-4075 were stationed behind office desks. Upon observing members of SCP-4075 communicating with human speech, agents requested permission to approach from command. Request was granted. 5 instances ignored agents and did not respond to attempts to initiate conversation. The 6th instance, an American flamingo, footnote 3, Phoenocopterus ruber, henceforth designated SCP-4075-A, engaged with agents. Interview log 1. Agents approach SCP-4075-A, which is applying a rubber stamp held in its mouth to documents on the desk in front of it. As agents approach, SCP-4075-A places down the stamp and faces agents. SCP-4075-A. Oh man, here comes another. We've had 3 or 4 of your lot come through here already this month. What do you want? Agent Maretti. My name's Alina Maretti. This is my colleague Mauricio Peralta. I was wondering if I could... Where's your form? My form? Sorry, I'm not sure Your form. If you want an interview, you need a form. Agent Maretti turns to look at Agent Peralta. 3rd floor. Ask for employee N38795DD, or just ask for clearance. Agent Peralta. I'd just like to ask you some questions on why you're here and how we're communicating right now. Look, I can't talk to you if you don't have a form. No form, no talking. I didn't make them, but they're the rules. If we keep talking, I'm going to be sent to a behavioral tribunal, and I do not have time for that this year. SCP-4075-A refused to interact with agents after this point. Agents proceeded to the 3rd floor and located the instance they were directed to. They were issued with a form entitled External Party, Security Clearance and Permission for Interaction Request. The form requested a variety of information including Bureau Identification Number, Purpose for Visiting, the identification numbers of SCP-4075 members the requester intended on speaking to, a summary of topics to be discussed with each member, employer name, languages spoken and proficiency level in each, and average speech decibel level, if known. Upon inquiring what needed to be written in Bureau Identification Number, agents were asked if they had previously visited SCP-4075-1. Agents answered in the negative and were issued with a form entitled Bureau Registration and Holistic Demographic Appraisal. The form was set over 5 double-sided standard A4 pages. Details requested included name, date of birth, nationality, reason for visiting, mother's maiden name, grandmother's maiden name, address details for the last 8 years, 7 months, and 2 weeks, if the requester had ever contracted avian influenza, if the requester has knowingly had contact with an individual affected with avian influenza, and scans of 3 identification documents. Acceptable examples listed included birth certificate, death certificate, passport, driver's license, if issued in the last 6 months, social security card, or amateur radio license. Agents were also asked to complete an external party consent for processing form in quadruplicate. Liaising with command, agents Maretti and Peralta completed and submitted the forms. They were informed the processing of said forms would take between 5 and 75 working days, not including Tuesdays. Form responses were received on the 73rd day. Agent Maretti's request was granted, and she was issued with an ID number. Agent Peralta had failed to account for his address for 2 days in the period details were asked for. His request was denied, although he was provided with a new blank form. Addendum 4075-2. Interview Log 2. As SCP-4075-A had previously engaged with agents, it was decided to arrange an interview with this instance. Agent Maretti arranged to interview SCP-4075-A through another form: External Party, Event Scheduling, Face-to-Face Bidirectional Communication Request, Interview, Interviewer. It is understood that SCP-4075-A completed a form entitled External Party, Event Scheduling, Face-to-Face Bidirectional Communication Request, Interview, Interviewee: Agent Maretti was granted permission to ask SCP-4075-A no more than 4 questions. By the date of the interview, Agent Peralty had been issued with an ID number. He was able to observe the interview, but not partake. Interview took place on the ground floor of SCP-4075-1. Agent Maretti: Morning, employee G9898CX. Are you still available for an interview? SCP-4075-A: Yep, now's good for me. And that's question 1 out of the way. Let's keep this quick. I've got a backlog of verification requests the size of my wingspan. Agent Maretti curses under her breath and crosses out a question on her interview log. Not the start I was hoping for, but thank you nonetheless. To begin, please, could you explain what you and your flock are doing here? I don't know the exact details, never had to ask. We've been about for a while, but things started to be formalized when your kind turned up in this part of the world and we had to leave North America. There needed to be some form of organization to make sure they all got down here together. Since then, we've been helping govern colonies all over. You'd need to speak to the Historical Matters and Records of Records department if you wanted to know more. What's your role here? Our first major job might have been immigration, but we've expanded a lot since then. I'm in verification. I get the documents, I check the documents, I pass them on to re-verification who checks them again. I don't know where they go after there. Again, I've never had to ask. We process a lot of stuff, but the majority are birth certificates, death certificates, requests for immigration, or seasonal migration. Those requests almost always get denied. The colony up at Carmagoo is the only one that constantly gets their paperwork in order. Mating season is our busiest time though, without a doubt. You've got to stick in a request for courting, a request to couple up if said courting is successful, a notification of pregnancy document not long after that. It's a lot of work, but it's just the way it is. Those forms aren't too bad to complete or process. It's the recoupling request which is a pain. Every year we'll get an influx of requests from wandering males or unhappy females asking to couple up with a new mate. And every year we have to turn a whole lot down because they've made an error in the forms or don't meet the criteria. It can be weeks on end before I return to my colony. And after mating season, we've all got the birth certifications to issue, making sure all the newborns are correctly assigned to the right colony. We like keeping track of our own, I guess. Agent Maretti scribbles in the corner of her clipboard. Sorry, my pen seems to have stopped working. Agent Maretti turns to Agent Peralta. Do you have a spare I could borrow? Well, I do, but I'd have to get my line manager to approve a stationary loan request form, and those take around 3 to 4 weeks. No. Please, that wasn't a question for you. What I would like to ask is, well, I'm struggling to understand why you're all here in the first place. Why you're here doing what you're doing. What's the point of all this? Not sure on that, I'm afraid. Even if I did, you don't have the security clearance, and I'm not getting involved with avian resources again. Accidentally marked a document as correct once, ended up in a disciplinary hearing. A 30-bird jury had to unanimously decide the outcome. Whole thing ended in a stalemate. They found me culpable, but couldn't decide on an 80 or 81 day period of isolation. It took over 5 years start to finish. And do you know how it is we're having this conversation right now? None of your species in the wild have demonstrated half of the behaviors you demonstrate whilst within this building. Again, I've got no idea. And that's your 4. I need to validate a stack of coloration certificates due to be issued to some chicks in a colony in Senegal. Happy to talk again, just make sure you go through the proper channels. And just an FYI, you'll need a different form as it'll be the second time we met. Addendum 4075-3 Document 4075-76 Request for reassignment. Name: Alina Maretti. Date: July 6th, 19 redacted. Current SCP assigned to SCP-4075. Reason for request. During the entirety of my time researching SCP-4075, I, nor any other member of the team, have yet to gain any useful information from them regarding the nature of their anomalous properties, and do not currently see any way in which I could gain useful information from them regarding anything. Whilst I could at first understand my assignment, due to my acquisition of credentials, we have failed to gain any valuable details not gathered during our initial interviews with instances of the anomaly. Subsequent interviews and research have failed to gather any information useful to my team, the Foundation, or the world at large. Documentation processed by SCP-4075 is wholly concerned with the regulation of the most mundane activity, and the reluctance to allow us to examine these documents severely limits our ability to establish causation. I have had no success in deriving any idea of SCP-4075's hierarchy and which instances, if any, are responsible for the overall functioning of SCP-4075 in the setting of its objectives. Instances seem to fulfill their responsibilities purely for the sake of doing so. It is my personal belief that their actions serve no purpose. The irony of having to submit this form to escape from their forms is not lost on me. My only relief is that I've not had to provide a blood sample from my great-great-great-grandfather's second cousin once removed, or some other tripe that the birds would ask for. My skills and talents are sorely wasted on this assignment, and I see no reason not to move away from research to soul containment. If I have to brush another pink feather off my uniform, I may just have to request reassignment to D-Class duties. Addendum 4075-4. Incident Report 4075-01. On September 18th, redacted, flamingo colonies in northwest Venezuela, northeast Colombia, vanished with no explanation, including a large colony of 9,000 birds at La Ciénaga de los Olivitos, Venezuela. On the days preceding, SCP-4075 had undergone a significant increase in activity. Attempts to discuss the disappearance were rebuked on the basis that Foundation personnel did not have the correct security clearance. The disappearance was localized to a 200-kilometer radius around the location that is now designated as SCP-Redacted-1, the epicenter of SCP-Redacted's activity, which began on September 21st, redacted. The connection between these events was not made until after SCP-Redacted's neutralization, following its activity escalating to a potential XK-class scenario on September 25th, redacted. At the peak of SCP-Redacted's activity, the entire population of SCP-4075, along with the entire population of flamingos worldwide, also vanished, returning on SCP-Redacted's neutralization. Agent Maretti's request for reassignment was denied. SCP-4075 divulged no information surrounding these events, despite repeated attempts at questioning by Foundation agents. Footnote 4. Most attempts were ignored outright. SCP-4075-A commented that the colony's annual leave requests had finally been approved. The comment is believed to be humorous in nature. Due to this, and the potential value of utilizing SCP-4075 as an early warning system, a decision was taken to obtain information by force. A task team, led by Agent Maretti and Peralta, entered SCP-4075-1 on November 1st, redacted, and attempted to obtain members of SCP-4075 and instances of SCP-4075-2 for further study at Foundation faculties. The operation was unsuccessful, SCP-4075 members demonstrated the ability to teleport around the office to avoid both Foundation operatives and projectiles. Operatives were able to obtain instances of SCP-4075-2, but discovered that these vanished when attempts were made to remove them from SCP-4075-1. 5 minutes into the operation, all Foundation operatives were teleported by unknown methods to the exterior of SCP-4075-1 and found themselves unable to re-enter. During the operation, Agent Peralta was able to examine instances of SCP-4075-1 and reported a type of document he had not seen in previous excursions: an extra-universal evacuation order. Attempts are currently underway to contact SCP-4075 members whilst they visit other colonies. Attempts to interview non-anomalous flamingos on the topic of SCP-4075 have been unsuccessful. Addendum 4075-5 Incident Report 4075-02 On December 21st, redacted, Agent Maretti failed to attend roll call and was uncontactable. Due to her previous reassignment request, desertion was initially considered as a possible scenario until her quarters were searched. None of Agent Maretti's belongings had been removed, and no sign of struggle was found. An instance of SCP-4075-2 was found on Agent Maretti's bed, the first to be discovered outside of SCP-4075-1. Instance was one standard page of A4 with a single line of text in the center. Involuntary Tribunal Summons. Alina Maretti, December 21st, redacted. Further investigation is underway. Thank you for listening to SCP-4075, Birds of a Feather, by Disadron. If you enjoyed this SCP, please like and subscribe, and follow the link in the description to the SCP Wiki, and vote up the article to support the author and the SCP Wiki as a whole.